Hey, everybody, it's me, Sarah, your Christian forgiveness coach, and you are listening to or watching Forgive Everyone for Everything Every Day Right Away. This is episode 71, and today we are going to talk about forgiving our parents and why we may want to do so. So I know this could be, a very deep topic for some of you. This episode is meant to simply plant a seed, maybe crack open a door, maybe see things from a fresh perspective or different angle. So, one of the things that I have learned is that our brains record things in childhood, they record those first memories and first experiences. These things are recorded as truths sometimes, even when they weren't. Because when we're children, we trusted the adults in our lives, right? We figured they knew better. Worst case scenario, we were abused and may have believed it was our fault, that we deserved it, that we were wrong, that we'd done something wrong, that we weren't good enough. Maybe your parents divorced and you thought it was because of you. Maybe one of the parents left and you believed it was because you weren't lovable or you didn't matter. Now, logically, as any adult, you may have come to, or as an adult, rather, not any adult, not everybody gets to this point, but sometimes logically we can understand that those things aren't true, that they weren't our fault. But that wiring is still in our brains. And I've come to know that it is why we have the triggers that we have, why we react in certain situations the way that we do, why we attract certain partners, why we might have certain, addictions, whether it's overeating, alcohol, drugs, overspending, pornography, gambling, as well as other things like anxiety, depression, OCD. Many of these things come from childhood trauma, from those first memories or experiences with our parents or some adult that we trusted. So some of you might be wondering, but wait, I had a good childhood. I had a happy childhood. I knew my parents loved me. How do I know if I need to forgive them for something or not? And the biggest indicator will often be in your adult, especially your adult intimate relationships, but mostly your adult relationships. Our parents, or our partners rather, our partners often they'll take the place of our parents or those caregivers. So sometimes whatever's triggering us in that adult relationship could be a clue to a damage done to us as a child that we may want to forgive. Other indicators might be something like money struggles, for example. Are you someone who's always struggled financially? What was your situation like financially as a child? Your parents may have loved you, technically not done anything quote unquote wrong, but there may be something there that requires forgiveness in order for you to break free from any limiting beliefs that you may have carried into adulthood about money or anything else. Maybe it shows up at work. Maybe your boss gives you a certain look or makes a comment about your performance, and you feel really angry over it, like overly angry in a way that just doesn't match up because maybe your father looked at you in that same way or said things about your performance in school or sports that caused you to feel not good enough. Maybe we struggled with depression and we can't really figure out why. We've got a good life, everything seems to be okay. And maybe it's because our mother struggled with it and she wouldn't get out of bed and play with us or make us dinner. So another thing I've learned is, and this one can be difficult to grasp, but I believe it's true that our parents didn't know any better. So stay with me here, okay? I want you to imagine when your parent was born, like just a baby. There's no little baby in existence. that is saying to him or herself that they just can't wait to grow up and damage their child in some way. It just doesn't happen. Your parents became the adults they did from their childhood experiences, just like we did. Their childhood brains were wired the way that they were as children, and that wiring continued on into adulthood. Most adults don't know about this wiring. They may not have been taught about it. They may not recognize what's happening. They may not understand at all what their triggers are and how to handle their emotions. They were simply never taught, certainly not as children, but possibly not even as adults. And we don't just magically become an adult and know how to do this stuff. We've got to learn it and we've got to put it into practice. And you know what? We as adults now have to accept that some of our parents never will. We have no control over that, but we do have control over whether or not we learn and understand our own triggers, forgiving our parents for the ways that they harmed us, and understanding our own triggers is the path to freedom and improved relationships as adults. Some of you may have the kind of relationship with a parent or caregiver where you can go to them and talk to them about it. Some of your parents may be in a place to receive that, and some may not. And some of you may not have parents to go to. But either way, you can acknowledge your own harm and you can forgive them. Because look, the hard truth is we are all going to harm our kids in some way. It's not if, but when and how. And the harm itself isn't the part I want to focus on. The important part, I believe, is how we repair it. That's what makes all the difference in the world. And that is something we have control over and something we can learn and apply. Recognize and gain an understanding of your triggers. Forgive your parents or whoever those adults were that harmed you. If you want to go to them, fine, do so, but it's not necessary. If you have adult children and it's safe to do so, ask them for forgiveness for the ways you've harmed them. This isn't about blame. It's not about right or wrong. It's about relationships, compassion, and love. All right, till next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.